in the morning of January. I can't think of the date, but police came and did uh, illegally had grenades. What they call those? Not a grenade. What they call that?
Cluster bombs.
Cluster bomb. And it knocked out it knocked out the individual, and the individuals were eventually executed unconscious, laying on the floor, and that was a massacre by the police, in other words, in revenge for the death of the police officer that had been grabbed. So consequently, uh, we 3 months later went to investigate. There was still tear gas in the house, and we saw the bullet holes in the floor where the men had been laying down. They were all shot in the head, and the police had put out a lot of what they call that misinformation and disinformation about what was going on in the house. They tried to make the man seem like he was crazy. He was, he had a pig, uh, killed a pig or something on a pole outside his house or something, right? And so consequently, they executed that. And in '83, there was no. We had a response where we investigated the police, but we didn't get any response from the black politician. The only black politician that responded was James Ford, and James Ford, did criticize because that was his district, but on Shannon Street in North Memphis, where he was able to, in other words, he was part of our investigation in terms of saying that police, and we judge the police has been guilty of murdering those people, but nothing has ever happened. Uh, as a result of that, I moved to Oakland, California, but 2 years later in Philadelphia, the Move family were attacked by the police, and 11 people were killed inside the house, and they burned up a whole black neighborhood. Keep, because they set fire to the house by dropping a firebomb. Okay, from a helicopter, and so consequently, there was no real response from the black leadership or anything. Like even though they had burned up a lot of the whole city block, and these people were well off, and these people were complaining about moves and all that. And no matter what move might have been, what it might have represented, it did not threaten the black community. It did not threaten anybody. But the police had a revenge factor from a couple of years before, right? And these are the kind of things we have to understand, right? So therefore, when we look at that and we look at what's happening today, we can see that the police are still doing the same thing all over the country and eliminating black males and sometimes black females. And we got to begin to understand. At one point in time, in the 1960s, 70s, we had an organization called the Black Liberation Army. And the Black Liberation Army began to eliminate police who were killing black folks. And for a short period of time, at least about maybe 15 years, the assaults by police had basically faded away because they were in danger, And we have people who are political prisoners now as a result of being a part of the Black Liberation Army.
And it's easy for an indoctrinated group of people to understand the the misinformation that is given about us, and you don't have the whole story. That's just like it's interesting. The same tactic that they used to go to Shannon, they were looking for somebody.
Right.
They did that on the RNA 11 back in Edgarville, Mega Edgarville, Jackson, Mississippi.
They did it with Fred Hampton also.
And they did it with Fred Hampton. And so, the reason why we're here is because we don't want our people to forget that there's something that needs to be done by our people, for our people, after we have gone through what we've gone through in this country. And it's no longer time to hear anything from anybody else who hasn't walked through our shoes as black people in this nation. And it's not time for them to try to suggest that we don't have a right to do whatever we claim is right to correct the measures. Like when we corrected the measure with the police abuse, like you said, with the Black Liberation Army, it was corrected, but they dealt with us as psychopaths. They are.
Right.
And they were able to get the remaining groups of black people, new Africans, to submit to their laws and their engagement with us. And so we got to start rekindling the idea that if anything is going to change, it's going to change because we have our own land, our own nation, our own police, our own education system, our own medical system, our own judicial system, our own everything. We own the land. And the only way to get all that is to own the land.
Definitely. We want to welcome everybody who's a part of our live broadcast. We kind of joining the live Facebook Live kind of late here, but what's up, y'all? Drop a comment, you know what I'm saying? Like this, share this with everybody, let everybody know that the Voices of New Africa is live, and this is where we educate the uneducated and re-educate the miseducated. I'm your brother host, one of your co-hosts, Brother Prophecy, with my comrade Kayi, and our special guest, our Grandmaster teacher, my brother Fadali. And you know what? I think we're going to, since we've been talking about the Leicester Street Massacre, that's right. Shannon Street Massacre. Okay, yeah, that's right. Shannon Street Massacre with police corruption, police terrorism on our people. I think we need to also talk about, you know, what's been happening. You know what I'm saying? Get into our what's been happening segment. Hey, go pull it up so we can go and get back on track with the show.
I'm listening to that. That's a nice little cut.
So what's been happening, y'all? So we've been talking about police terrorism and something that happened in Memphis, Tennessee, aka out of the way of city. But just recently, I think last week, there was a sheriff in a Mississippi town by the name of Lexington, Mississippi, who was fired because there was a recording of him released to the public of him bragging about murdering 13 people. And also claiming that he would he used a lot of racial slurs within this, and he just admitting to murder, cold-blooded murder. Now, this happened, like I said, in Lexington, Mississippi. He was being recorded by another police officer, a black police officer, who basically was tired of all the racism and corruption in this particular police department, and he decided to record him because he felt that nothing was going to ever be done about it. And his name is Robert Lee Hooker. Now, in this recorded conversation, this guy, his name is Sam Dubbin. Sam Dubbin. He was the sheriff of Lexington, Mississippi. Now, in this conversation, in this recording, he bragged about killing people. In fact, he bragged about killing one man, and he didn't call him a black man. He called him the N-word. He shot him over 119 times. He bragged about it. Not only did he brag about cold-blooded murder, he told this other police officer, he said, look, I don't care if you kill somebody in cold blood, I will cover it up. And that just speaks to the culture of the police department, how life is devalued, especially black life. The fact that he was so open, and he called these N-words. He said straight out, he's like, hey, I shot that nigga 119 times. So as a result, because we always say, well, it's just a couple of bad apples. There's a few bad. Most of the police are good. It just, you can't blame the whole police department because of a few bad apples. But when we look at it, this cop, Robert Lee Hooker, I think that's an example of a good cop because he saw bad cops doing bad things and he did something about it. But as a result of him doing a good deed, he had to resign. He resigned, stated, hey, it's just too much of a toxic environment. Now, if you think, if we talk about it, so many good cops, well, when you see a good cop doing a good thing, holding these bad cops accountable, you think he should be celebrated. You think he should be promoted. You think, hey, maybe you ought to be chief. You know, because this other dude brags about killing people, and he also brags about telling you that, hey, you can do the same thing and don't worry about being held accountable for it because I'm gonna make sure that I cover it up. So, and you would also think that after this recording is leaked, and you can, hey, do a Google search for it. It's all overline. You don't have to take my word for it. YouTube, Google, wherever, you can hear this man for himself bragging about these things, bragging about murdering somebody, shooting them over 119 times. Matter of fact, he said, well, the car that this guy was in got shot over 300 times, but 119 bullets actually went into the guy, you know. But after this was released, you think it would be just cut and dry. He automatically get really arrested, you know, but at least fired. But they had to actually go to the alderman and take a vote. And he barely got voted out, a vote of 3-2. So it's actually, you know, 2 people said, I think he should keep his job. And that just also speaks to the culture of corruption and the culture of violence and murder and disrespect and dehumanization of Black people in this police department. So, you know, and that's really all I got, you know, for this particular what's happening. There are several other stories, but we got so much we need to get to. But anybody want to just speak to this story or anything else involved with the police terrorism that we experience on a mass level in this country? And we've been doing that ever since before the inception of the police, because the police evolved from the slave patrol. And their job was to capture, to make sure that the enslaved property, in other words, Black people in the United States, made sure that we stayed in line, you know, brought us back to the plantation when we escaped. They punished us whenever we broke the laws of the so-called Black codes. It was called the slave codes back then.
Yeah, let me ask Grandmaster Steve a question, because it's interesting that you're talking about what's going on with these cops, but how has anything materialized from us talking about these incidents that have been occurring over the years? Have you been able to see different eras of how we resisted or played opposition to the way things were? But in all of that, I see that there's always a constant that we're talking more about it to our people, what's going on. And then it seems like I'm trying to get a feel from Grandma. It just seems like nothing happened. Or we move on for a minute and then we forget about it. And then 10 years down the line, there's another spree. But when you put it all together, man, there's hundreds of thousands of us, even millions, that have been killed under these circumstances, under these conditions, in different eras of time. So are we doing, is it something different that needs to be done? I mean, I know we still need to let everybody know what's going on.
Right. So therefore, when we look at what's happening to disintegrate the Black community, to keep organizations from being effective, is that the media has played a role in anytime they would raise up something, the Black Lives Matter organization came into being as a result of the killings of African people. And so consequently, what happens is that the media plays it up, and then it may be some little small, tiny results, like the first time we have police been uh, charged and put in jail. But this is just minimal. This is not a maximum thing because uh, our memories have been polluted to the extent of thinking things have changed. And what happens is that change, whatever change that takes place, is eliminated because we don't have organization and we don't have a leadership that's in the system that will allow us to carry forth anything. And so therefore that shows that we are not a part of the system, that we think that we're part of the system. And we think that we can get justice in the system. But every time we see people forgiving the enemy, forgiving the people who are done wrong to us in the community, no matter what happens. Like for example, in Buffalo, where 10 people were killed recently, by uh, people of the European persuasion who decide that they want to shoot us down at will, and then we see no results whatsoever that shows that there's any kind of real change taking place. And the police, and so therefore, and they have turned us around in terms of talking about uh, the police. In other words, where they have attacked people, particularly that was in the Black uh, uh, Lives Matter movement, because they were talking about defunding the police. They have pushed back, and so-called black leadership that does exist have also been pushed back, and they refuse to deal with pushing the movement to defund the police, and they have turned everything around and thinking that, and this was the black leadership back in the day, in the NAACP that started talking about black killing black. In other words, we've been diverted from organizing uh, the community to handle the situation of these outside forces by concentrating on so-called black killing blacks. But Mexicans kill Mexicans and whites kill whites. But they have made an issue out of, I'm talking about the leadership at that time, made an issue out of black killing blacks. And so we got to really understand that they're going to make a move to remove all weapons from the black community because they're saying blacks killing black. And this is a dangerous time that we live in right now to understand that that uh, all kinds of what they call those militia, white militias, exist throughout the country, and they are armed to the teeth, and they got our leadership talking about disarming us.
Right. Yeah. It's wow. That says a lot because all of these battles of gun rights and laws and things of that nature has nothing to do with us. Uh, as a matter of fact, a lot of these laws we were just talking about on the other day. We were talking about some of the laws that have been passed really has no bearing on us at all as far as us uh, becoming uh, more in tune with the riches of this nation. We're going to stay second class citizens. We're going to stay talking about how you need to be persistent, consistent, uh, and just keep um, the denial that things aren't right in this country for black people. It is a denial. And another thing that is apparent is that when we talk about the police officers, right, that is something that is supposed to have the internal mechanisms to make it right without anybody having to step in from the outside, like we do. And if we had our own land and we had our own nation, if we continue to strive to do that, we will have our own land and our own nation. And then we'll have a police force uh, consistent with our people, dealing with our people in the midst of society and the crimes that are committed. But those are issues that we can solve collectively as a group of people who have their own nation. And the ideas and suggestions that we haven't been forced to tell these white folks in their system is something that's going to be automatic for us. And we should understand if you have to tell people that it's wrong, then it ain't wrong to them. And it's never going to be wrong to them. No matter how they change things to appease us for momentarily, it's never going to be wrong to them. At the end of the day, it's going to be the way they want it to go because they control the land, the nation, everything, all the institution. Prophecy, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. I've been kind of over here quiet because I'm trying to work the technology at the same time. But definitely, I mean, it's one of those things where when you look at the current situation and you're looking at just the practicality of what should our response be. You know, it's like if you continue to do the same thing, you know, I hear people say, sometimes wise people say, if you want something different, you have to do something different. You know, so it's like we find ourselves in a situation, police guns down somebody and we're upset, we get mad, we get angry, and then all of a sudden we want to do something. But what do? We get out and we protest and march. And what happens is people are really predatory on that energy, on that momentum that we need to be using to gain true liberation. But people like the Democratic Party, they jump in and they say, well, yo, this is so terrible. It's so terrible. It's awesome, awful. And in order to remedy that, we got to go out and vote. We got to go out and vote. And then we put our energy in the balance. When we vote on somebody and we hope that they do right by us, and they never do. Because even if you look at historically, most of our efforts have went to benefit other people. You look at the civil rights movement of the 60s, that benefited white women way more than it benefited black people. And right now, you look at the momentum that the struggle that we are enduring in this current era with the hands up, don't shoot movement and what they call Black Lives Matter. Well, not only do the Democratic Party jump in and say, wait, we want to gain some momentum, some support from this, but then you have the LGBT community. They jump in and they say, well, look, this is terrible and we stand with you. We stand with you because not only is it wrong to discriminate and do these things to black people, but it's wrong to do it against the LGBT community. And they do that, and before you know it, the whole movement becomes about them. And the resources and everything, the gains become about them. Because if you look at it, since the murder of Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown, which really got this thing the Martin era of protests against police brutality really, got it started. Most of the gains, the legislation, the laws that have been passed have not been passed for black people. There's no anti-lynching bill. There's no George Floyd bill. You don't even have a bill to study the effects of slavery, so you can deal with a concept of reparation. But you have all kind of legislation for the LGBT community. I mean, think about that. Think about that. All type of legislation for the LGBT community. But what happened to us? And this is all a part. And I'm not knocking the LGBT community. They're very effective at what they do. Extremely effective. Whenever there's something that happens, they jump on it and they use that momentum to progress their movement. That's what they do. Just like the Democrats. So we have to stop being the host for all of these other parasitic organizations that are feeding and living and prospering off of the bloodline of our people, off of the blood of our suffering. Look, we can't let George Floyd die in vain. You know what I'm saying? We need to, not saying that, hey, we happy he died. No, but we need to take, because they're positive and negative in all things. So we have to take the death and the suffering of our people at the hands of this unjust system. And we got to use that to galvanize and gain support so we can get real liberation and real change, not just supporting other organizations that look like they're our friends, but they're only benefiting from our struggle and our pain. And I know a lot of LGBT people going to be mad at me, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm not attacking you, but I'm looking at a strategy. Really, I'm giving you props because y'all politically savvy. Y'all got it going on. Y'all movement be booming. You know what I'm saying?
LGBT. whatever. Um,
LGBTQ.
QT. Okay. Q. All right. Well, whoever it is, at the end of the day, what we're based on is controlling the narrative of what we're talking about. We're talking about what's going on with our people. And what you're doing and what you are attempting to do for yourself doesn't help us. So we're not concerned about it. But, I mean, we're not, like Brother Prophet said, this ain't about you. And we talking about you. It's not. It's about us talking about why we don't have certain things. And one of the things, in addition to other people, the Communist Party in one era, the women's organization in another, and now LGBTQ in another era, in all instances, black people, new Africans, listen to this radio station or on Facebook or whatever, have to understand that that comes from us always remaining on the defense. And there's a saying. And I'm gonna say this saying. I don't know where it came from. I heard it from a coach, but it makes so much sense with our people and its endeavor here in the United States. It's time to get on the offense. You can't gain any ground and you can't win the battle if you don't become aggressive and get on the offense and make sure things happen. Sitting back, asking them to pass a bill and pass a law always ends up with somebody like LGBTQT getting the benefits out of it, and we sit back passively watching, complaining about something else, which is not anything offensive. We're not going to gain, we're not going to score any points, we're not going to even get a chance to lead in a winning position in the game of independence because we're not doing anything to score. Think about it, people. We're not doing anything aggressive. The one time we did something aggressively and it was working for us, they put in their whole federal bureau of investigation and asked us out. And brother Grandmaster Kadali mentioned they were killing a lot of black folks back in the 60s and 70s, and we came up with
Black Liberation Army.
yeah, the BLA, and that ceased for about 15 years. It took them that long to lock all of them up or kill them or massacre them in houses, talking about they were looking for somebody else. It took them about 15 years, and they got back to rolling. So we got to understand that we're second-class citizens, we're subjugated people who have been oppressed to stay in this nation, in this country, to feed perpetually the economic system of capitalism so that they can continue to amass wealth and riches and power and control of our lives. When are we going to be aggressive?
Yeah, I mean, to your sports analogy, they always say you can never score unless you shoot the ball. So we gotta shoot the ball, we gotta shoot the shots, and we gotta shoot them in the right place. You know what I'm saying? We shooting the ball in the wrong, in the opponent's rim, and we scoring for them. But yeah, definitely. Later on, a little later on in the show, we're gonna have our comrade Patrick Alexander join the show in just a minute. So yeah, so Patrick, if you out there listening, man, give the radio station a call. He should be calling us up. I see he's backstage right now waiting. So we're gonna hear from that brother, that comrade, in just a second. But we've been talking about police terrorism. I know the comrade, he did a lot of things. He's gonna talk a lot about the Emmett Tills, what's going on with the Emmett Tills case, because recently the white lady who set up Emmett Tills, they found an arrest warrant in a Mississippi basement. You know what I'm saying? From 50, 60 years ago. Unserved, just sitting there. That just shows that the whole disrespect for black life. This is nothing new. Dehumanization of black people is nothing new. It is. It was formed at the formation of the nation, before the nation was formed. When African people were first placed into this system of chattel slavery, you have the disrespect of African people. So we're gonna be talking about a little bit about that a little later. Hopefully my comrade gonna call in so he can be heard both on the live broadcast and as well as the people out there on Radio Land. But people out there, give us a shout out, write a comment, man. Give us a like, share this broadcast so everybody can know We out here doing this. Big shouts out to who is this? A.T. Sankofa. Peace, comrade. What's up, brother? You know what I'm saying? You got anything you want to add to this?
Yes. Like like the brother said, we have to organize ourselves to understand that the system is not for us, will never been for us, and never will be for us. And once we understand that, we'll be able to organize ourselves to a point of being able to be on the offense. And like I said, a short time in the 60s when we were on the offense, the COINTELPRO, the FBI counterintelligence program, was activated to eliminate what they call black militants, and so we had the assassination of King, assassination of Malcolm X, and all those things that happened in that particular moment of history. And Fannie Lou Hamer in 1964 that took us out of the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party and Lyndon Baines Johnson tried to block what you were saying, speaking to black folks. But Jesse Jackson brought us back 20 years later in 1984, we came back into the Democratic Party. And as stated, the Democratic Party has not done anything for us, has not given us any power. We don't have any power as a result of that. And we know now, and when we look at the so-called black cities that used to have black mayors and all that, it has basically virtually been the power, whatever little power that had taken place has been eliminated. And this is why we are suffering today, because we don't have, because the system is not built for us to have power.
That's right. It's not built for us. And to be honest with you, we built to have our own society, our own civilization. That's how we built. You see how resilient we are as a people. And I'm just taking natural examples, but in detail, there's a number of different things that exist in us as a race of people, if you want to call us. But as a nation of people, we got doctors, lawyers, engineers, scientists, creative, developers, business tycoons, everything amongst us. And just imagine we had our own, it was just amongst us, how we would take care of ourselves as a people collectively.
Yeah, we got Patrick Alexander backstage. I'm waiting for him to call in. I just text you a number, comrade, if you're listening. What they call in number is area code 901-324-7490. Give us a call so we can have you on the radio live as well as Facebook feed. But I see you backstage, and we're about to get you on shortly. I mean, the comrade just came back from recently a trip from Natchez, Mississippi. And we talk about the Devil's Punch Bowl on here before, and that's just, man, it's crazy if you don't know what happened with the Devil's Punch Bowl. That happened after the Civil War.
Yeah, people have been out.
Yeah, with the Union soldiers, the Union Army, because in Natchez, Mississippi, they had just freed black people had just gained their freedom from chattel slavery, and a lot of people black people started going to Natchez, this part by Natchez, Mississippi, and the white people there were afraid. And they were like, hey, man, we need to do something about it for the Union soldiers, these Union people who's supposed to be our friends, the liberators. Exactly. They went and they rounded all the black people up and put them into concentration camps. Put our people into concentration camps, y'all. And then didn't even give us any resources. No food, no water, no clothing, nothing that we needed to survive. So we're locked up. These are thousands and thousands of black people, black men, women, and children who are locked up in concentration camps without any food, without any water, without anything they needed to survive. The only resource they gave them were shovels in order to bury the dead. And you had all these people who basically died in this concentration camp down in Natchez, Mississippi. We don't teach about it in here. You don't know anything about it. When I learned of this, and me being from Mississippi, I was shocked. I was like, wait a minute. I've been in Mississippi my whole life, and I never knew this. You know, and this brother actually had the opportunity to go down there and visit. So we're really looking forward to hearing from this brother and everything that he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off, Brother Props. Can you take from that second number too? Because
Go do it.
I think he had an issue last week.
Yeah, so yeah, comrade, if you listening, I got Kakai to text you the number, and as soon as we do that, we do that. We're gonna have our comrade on live, and we're gonna be doing what we do always: we educate the uneducated and re-educate the miseducated. But you know, we're here at the Voices of New Africa, and we're part of something called the New African Independence Movement. And what that is we are struggling to gain land because land is the foundation of freedom. You can't have freedom if you don't have land. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, if you look at the so-called pilgrims in the United States of America, they eliminated 98% of the indigenous population. They no longer here. Wipe them out.
You know,
In order to gain land.
You know, you were talking about wiping. And we got too much bad history for us to even feel like we're part of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too much hatred and too much damage and trauma we've been through to we like as a people, and I hate using analogy, but it's just analogy has been hit me today. Because we just like an abused spouse that's been beat. And for some reason that spouse does not want to leave their relationship.
Definitely.
We have to leave the relationship. As a matter of fact, what popped in my mind was that what is going to happen when we start taking our land? Well, the reality is that after the Civil War, when we won the war for the North, all of the plantation owners were criminalized.
I want to cut you short, but we just joined by our esteemed guest, comrade, brother Patrick Alexander of the Mississippi Black Liberation Movement. What's up, comrade?
Power and peace, brothers. Power and peace. Always elated, man, to be on the show, brother Prophecy, brother Captain Kakai. Always.
Yeah, we got our comrade, our master teacher, brother Badali here too.
Oh yeah, no doubt, brother Badali. Peace and blessing to brother Badali, the great elder teacher. Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. That's right. So what's been going on with you, brother Pat?
Listen, man, we down here on the forefront, on the front line, fighting these battles, brother. And I wanted to talk last week because you guys are so on point. Brothers are so on point with what it is that you're putting down every week with the people. And I just wanted people to understand that we in the front line. We in the front line trenches of a historic war. And we need to understand, you know, to organize around these events that's taking place because the universe have given us another opportunity to set balance in the earth. And this whole Emmett Till situation, I was listening to you brothers, and I was calling the wrong number. And so I finally got the right number. Okay. And I'm glad that I had the wrong number because I had an opportunity to listen to you, brother Prophecy, the elder, and you, brother Kakai, and y'all so on point with what it is that you're saying. This whole Emmett Till situation is not just a matter of Emmett Till. This is a matter of black people's humanity. We talking about black people's humanity is on the line. That's what's really on trial today. The universe have gave us another opportunity to address this situation in a way that a dignified people should be addressing the situation. So I'm outside in Coldwater, Mississippi, so y'all know how that is. You know, I got people riding by, they're speaking and all. But listen, we talking about black people's humanity on the line right here. And it's about time that we galvanize as a people and begin to address these matters in the appropriate way, like a people who have humanity, like a people who have integrity.
Definitely. So that's you know, to be clear, we talked about how what was the lady named Carolyn? What's her name?
Carolyn Bryant Dunham.
Yeah. They found the unserved arrest warrant in a basement in a Mississippi courtroom, and now people in our community are responding appropriately, trying to demand justice, and this criminal be brought to justice. Can you go into depth about some of the things, some of the actions that you can't talk about that are trying, you know, some of the pressure that we're trying to apply to make sure that we get justice that was long overdue for our brother Emmett Till.
Right, without a doubt, brother. And I appreciate the question because it's going to give some clarity to this situation. First of all, we have to start addressing capitulated black leadership. You know, that's not only in Mississippi, who is the most populous and black elected official, but that's all over the land. We have misappropriated leadership. So the first part of our problem began with the leadership that we have in place in the form of a DA by the name of Brother Dwayne Richardson. That's the head prosecutor in LaFleur County that has capitulated to prosecute this particular situation. Even after going in and hashing out this new evidence that has been hidden in the basement, and I did say hidden in the basement for 67 years, intentionally hidden in the basement in the Greenwood, LaFleur County courthouse for 67 years. So what we're dealing with is capitulated leadership to prosecute the case. So what we have to do now is go in and hash out a comprehensive plan to put pressure on the DA to prosecute the case. And we're doing that in the form of notarized legal petition that's circulating right now in Greenwood, Mississippi, to ascertain 1,000 to 1,200 registered citizens of Greenwood that's interested in Dwayne Richardson prosecuting the case. And at that point, once we ascertain the 1,200 names necessary, it's not a matter of whether or not Dwayne Richardson want to prosecute or not. He's forced to prosecute by the mandate of the citizens.
Definitely. Man, that's great information. I appreciate you providing that clarity. Our radio broadcast is about to end. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up the radio broadcast, and we're going to continue this conversation about the Emmett Till situation and anything else you want to talk about, because I definitely want to hear some more about your trip down to Natchez. Firsthand experience from the Devil's Punch because like I told you, that's on my bucket list to visit that. But we always end the show with our shout out to our political prisoners, elders, and ancestors. And we want to give a big shout out to everybody out there, to all of the prisoners behind the political wall who have managed to transform their criminalistic mentality to a revolutionary mentality. We want to give a big shout out to Brother Tank, Brother Atiba, Brother Kawi, Brother Daima, Brother Shadi, and all of the brothers who are behind that wall. Don't give up, brother. We are still out here, because once you get out, it's time to go to work with the liberation of our people. To all of the political prisoners who gave their lives, who are been locked up for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and you're still in there, you're still educating the youth. We want to say thank you, we love you, and we're still fighting to get you out. Big shout out to Matula Shakur, to Russell Maroon Schultz, rest in peace, comrade. Comrade Sundiata Coley, you out, we love you, and to the African family and all of the political prisoners still locked down today. We are still out there for you, too many to name. We love you, and we have not forgotten about you. To all of our elders in the community who have been liberating our people for so long, this shouts out to Grandmaster Teacher Fadali, to Queen Mother to Queen Mother Asada Shakur, Queen Mother Tony Grisham, to Queen Mother Ayo Deli, and all of the elders, Baba Lucada, General Rashid, General Rico, and all of the elders out there in the community, to all of our ancestors who gave their lives, the ultimate sacrifice, so we can be here today. Big shouts out to Queen Mother Moore, Queen Mother Yah Satawah, Queen Mother Betty Shabazz, Queen Mother Winnie Mandela, Malcolm X, Demar Vesey, Nat Turner, Mario Alvadelli, and all of our freedom fighters who gave their lives. And as long as there is voice, there is air in our lungs and blood running through our veins, we will not let the struggle end until the war is won and we leave you with our revolutionary cry, and that is free the land, free the land, free the land. And we are out. And that ends our broadcast. All right, all right. So now we just live. We just live. Back to you, comrade. You can hang up the phone right now. Make sure I can hear you. Give me 1 second,
Take it
comrade.
back, Queen Mother. Take a phone back to him.
Oh no, I don't need it. Yeah. All right, comrade. So we back. We were talking about the Emmett Till's situation. You know, what is being done and what's needed to be done in order to make sure that this criminal is brought to justice. Anything else you want to talk about as far as that is concerned?
Well, basically the gist of everything with the Emmett Till situation. I just really wanted to understand that it's more than a hashtag. You know, we have entered into this realm of social media, what I call trending culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if it ain't a hashtag in front of it, you know, we pretty much ain't thinking about it as a people. You know, we letting society determine what's important to us, and we should be making that determination. So I really wanted to put it out there that it's more than just a hashtag. You know, we have an opportunity to start to reconfigure the humanity of Black people in the face of the world, in the face of everybody, so that everybody can see that we do have a humanity, and this is the perfect situation that we should be galvanizing around to make sure that the world understand, Black people's humanity.
Exactly. So basically, we should not be waiting for um, individuals to try to validate us or give us the okay to say, hey, you're me. And it kind of reminds me of the whole with Juneteenth situation. Like Juneteenth is something that, whether what you feel about a particular holiday or whatever, it's something that has been in the Black community for years, decades, and decades. But now that the white power structure that said it's a federal holiday, okay, now we want to celebrate it in mass. In other words, that whole mentality of being validated by the white man or being validated by whatever, we got to get that and understand that we are already valid and our struggle is already valid, and that we should start supporting those things that support ourselves if we truly want liberation. You
That's
know.
right. That's right.
But
That's
I
right.
wanted to also talk about your recent trip down to Natchez, Mississippi, um, and some of the things that you did with that. Could you speak on that just for a second?
Right. Can, no doubt. Appreciate the opportunity to address that too. Can y'all hear me well, brother?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Because I got background. But anyway, I did hear your question, brother. Yes, you spoke about Juneteenth. And that's where we spent Juneteenth. The Black Liberation Movement, along with other grassroots organizations, met down in Natchez, Mississippi, with organized Black organizations across the nation down in Natchez to convene a commemoration and to pay homage to our ancestors at the Devil's Punch Bowl. And we probably were down there. Everybody else was uh, gun clubs, black militias, new Black Panther parties, so on and so forth. But I took children down there. I took Black women down there. It was a historic lesson for us to go down there, and we had a tremendous experience down there. And I would advise anybody that's serious about the causation of Black people, anybody that's serious about our history and understand our now and looking forward to forging out us a future, to go down to Natchez, Mississippi, to the Devil's Punch Bowl, where 20,000 of our women and children were lost in a concentration camp conducted by Union soldiers down in Natchez. And I tell you, it's a spiritual experience in Natchez, Mississippi. And we left from Natchez, Mississippi to Devil's Punch Bowl, and we did a armed demonstration. It was not a protest. It was an armed demonstration down the streets of Natchez, where they got and eat breakfast in the antebellum homes that were built by the blood, sweat, and tears of our brothers and our sisters and our children. These people have whole tourist attraction up to entertain white people on the balconies of beautiful antebellum homes. We walk down those streets with confidence. We walk down those streets with every intent to start to make the world understand that we ready to situate ourselves as a black people. We ready to claim territory. We talk about free the land. That's the agenda that we are on. That's the agenda that we're about. And so we still reaching out to our black brothers and sisters in all organizations on the grassroots level to join us in this fight.
Definitely. And just to speak on some of the things that you are a part of with the Black Liberation movement. Um, you have a broadcast yourself that you do most weeks. Tell everybody where we can hear from you with your own broadcast. You have some awesome perspective in your broadcast itself that we enjoy and we can all be enlightened. So when do you do your broadcast?
Yes, sir. Every Thursday night at 7 o'clock, Brother Prophet, we do the Black Liberation Movement podcast. And it's basically us relaunching the platform for liberating talk to be conducted across the social media airways. And you and I both know, Kayi, our voices are silent. And that's just like Malcolm X said, at some point, we have to create strong platforms to get our message out there. We have to, because it's almost like, we battling white supremacy that has a tree. And our social media platforms and the platforms that we create is basically a switch. So we have to turn it up. We have to tune up on that. And we got to build these platforms so that we can get out into these brothers like standing beside me right here with the BYLC, the Black Youth Leadership Coalition, that we training. They have to begin to adopt a rhetoric of black liberation. Our children have to be talking about black to become fashionable to them. It got to become a whole thing to them. And I think it being inundated with the supremacy media outlets and everything that they got them confused with is only serving us to disjustice. So we got to get them out. Still on, brother? Are we still on?
Yeah, you breaking up a little bit. Yeah, you breaking up a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, you just break up.
I can see Brother Caillou, but I can't see Brother Prophecy.
Oh, okay. I'm like right there in the corner. I'm still here though.
Okay, brother. Yeah, I know with this stream, y'all, this is the first time we doing this. It's gonna be some.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, man.
He just fell out. He just fell out.
I was gonna say that was some good work that has been done just recently, the past month, even considering that we had to compete against other facets trying to claim when we've had a number of special events scheduled around June and August, to be honest.
Yeah, because we got Black August coming up.
Right.
Yeah, definitely commemoration of a lot of things. Solar Day or what happened with that situation, as well as really a spirit of resistance. Because there's a lot of things that happen in the month of August that really represent Black resistance to the oppressive system, the United States empire. So we got a lot of things going on, a lot of opportunities to further educate our people on the struggle. But we just about out of time. Well, we actually overtime. But we're gonna end this. We're gonna give everybody a final shout out, and I'm sorry with our elder.
Free the land.
I am.
Everybody must begin to understand our history. If we don't understand our history, we will not be able to control our destiny.
Definitely. I'm going to you, Kakayi.
Well, you know, I don't have much to say. Uh, Most of it has been said. Uh, we just got to believe in ourselves and be prepared um, for our enemy to show their true colors when we begin to stand firm on having our own, so we can have our own nation. Just be prepared and prepare yourself
Yeah.
because they prepared.
Definitely. And I close it like this. Something we said earlier. If you want something different, you got to do something different. You know, if you're tired of seeing the same results, then we got to do something different. We got to try something new. And understand, if you are a fan of history, then you know that every time that Black people have stepped out on our own, every time that we have had an independent landmass, independent township, independent community, that we control the politics, that we control the economics. We have not only survived, we have thrived. And if we could do that back then, in the heart of white supremacy, where white supremacy was at its full strength, then we can think about what we can do now when we have more resources, we have more access to education, we have more access to communication. Just right now, I can talk to millions of people, even though a million people ain't on right now, but I can talk to a million people right now. This is something we didn't have in the past, but we got to have the correct mindset. We have to have an independent mindset. We can't be indoctrinated, continue to indoctrinate ourselves and be indoctrinated by this European mindset that was designed to benefit European people. We got to think Black, we got to act Black so we can be Black and elevate Black all the time, y'all. And this is Brother Prophecy for the Voices of New Africa with Comrade Kadayi and Master Teacher Elder my man, Comrade Kakai and Master Teacher Elder for Dolly. We'll see y'all next week, y'all. Peace, Black Power, free the land.
Free land.
Free the land.